Welcome to another episode of the Angels, Positivity, and Love sub-series, the APL Spotlight series. We feature guests who have already been on the main show. We get them on to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Oftentimes, we do take more steps with the universe, so tune in on those. The day the show tapes is the day it airs, so it's also a great outlet for the fact that the main show is booked all the way out to January of 2026, which is a really good thing, actually, if you think about it. No stress about the show at all. And that's really what we're here to do, to help everybody experience a little less stress, a little less thinking, a little more heart, a little more fun, and maybe even tapping into the universe and angels and so on. So you can walk a smoother path, breathe easier, and again, find your unique life path and live it a little bit more. Today, coming to us is one of the most relaxed, wonderful individuals. She's a scientist, psychologist, aviation, space psychologist. She's an author on many fronts, kids' books as well. She's actually got a lot of expertise on a lot of fronts. She's been a BBC presenter, Latvian background, but living in the UK these days. She's featured at a lot of conventions or gatherings such as Stanford and so on around the globe. I think she's well known, connected, and again, very respected in her field. So, Dr. IYA Whiteley, I'd like to welcome you to the APL Spotlight Series. Thank you for coming on today.
Amazing. Thank you for inviting me again, Michael. Much appreciate, and always such lightness and joy coming to discuss. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I think you also described the way you handle everything with an elegance, a grace, and a certain pace that allows everyone to follow and everyone to participate. And I think what you're doing for humanity and mankind is incredible. You're helping people slow down and realize that their awareness and what's going on around them is far bigger than we typically allow for through the thinking level or the science in a way. Mankind right now is doing so much thinking that in a way it blocks the allowing of greater knowledge or wisdom or experiencing with planet Earth. And I really do believe that you're one of the champions trying to help mankind awaken to the broader possibilities of the cosmos and us living here on Earth and sharing it with many other species, creatures, all unconditional love. Where would you like to take us today? You had a recent retreat, I believe, that was involving breath work. Do you want to talk about that maybe at first?
Yes, that's actually beautiful beginning. And just what you were saying about the thinking level and how we get tuned out from our heart, and it's almost like a necessary step that as children we are born and we are literally being breathed, if I might say that. So the spirit breathes through us, and we really joyful realizing our body, our this amazing space that we arrive at, and then something happens, and because we get well, we're surrounded with people who do not pay attention to little things because we are preoccupied, especially in the Western society, with achievement and goals and just physical things that we do need to maintain. We can't ignore them, but they overtake. And because we don't pay attention, the little babies also learn to ignore it because it doesn't seem important. And so we come in here fully equipped to breathe the spirit, or let the spirit breathe through us, but slowly with every obstacle. And when we're afraid, we contract. And that almost shrinks our lungs. It pinches our nerves, literally. The strokes happen. In a lot of channels that we have from energy, but physical ones get choked. We literally feel choking sensation throughout the body. And then we are taught how to overcome that, or how to find motivation, because it's been stifled and forgotten, and we were told what to focus and not to listen within. And I have traveled that journey, and I'm sure I have a long way to go, to uncover and come more, or let more and more this intuitive, heartfelt expansive self or oneness, which is probably not self. It's more of a connected, heartfelt presence rather than just self. And the best way to drop into it, which more and more in scientific world we are able to appreciate that meditation helps, but it's so hard to meditate, for many people who have this thinking hat. And it's very hard to remove because it's like an astronaut suit, like it's an extra vehicle activity suit, literally extra, it's something that is embedded us like a suit, that the armor that we need to protect. But because of the protection, it doesn't allow something from within to come out. But also because it's has this life system that has been embedded, we've forgotten that we can actually breathe ourselves, that we can connect ourselves. And so I have just been back from a retreat with Dan Brulé, incredible person with extraordinary background, worth reading his book, Just Breathe. And he talks about how he was touched by breath and spirit from 4 years old. Yes. He was in a school, a very strict Catholic school, and a nun who was teaching like in a pedestal in school suddenly came down from the pedestal and sat next to him. And he was shocked just by that act, that suddenly there was a level up, that this higher person who kept order suddenly sat right next to him. And someone came in and stood up on that kind of higher pedestal. And that was a priest. And he spoke about how God has breathed life through nostrils into a man, so breathed spirit. And he was so taken by that he stood up and couldn't sit down. He was so taken by that life comes in through breath, that somebody could breathe life into somebody. And that's spirit, the divine presence, that they couldn't do anything with him. And he was only 4. And he was so revolutionary for him that it's kind of followed him throughout his life. He was a deep sea diver. He learned to and taught how to resuscitate people. He used to, as part of his medical background, take X-rays for people's chests. Everything he touched in some way with, the way we breathe. And so I've done breath work before. I have done breathing. Well, in Korean medicine, we have some aspect of it which is called twist therapy, and we learn to realign energies where our physical body blocks it. So we learn to learn how to twist the body correctly through physical exercise, through moving meditation and breathing. But this was completely another level. It's almost like I have a knowing, irrefutable knowledge that everything I have done before just now suddenly makes a deeper sense, a deeper meaning. And I can feel what I couldn't pick up from the teachers who taught me, let's say, twist therapy with breathing. And although it worked every single time, but now I feel the breath. Because through this practice, I was able to almost awaken this oxygenation, the opening, and also when I know, through science, that when breath comes in, it comes in a spiral, and it depending how it twists in your body, you have either nourishing or other effects. And our blood in the vessels, which was also astonishing to me, it's actually empty. It's practically empty. It's not flooded with blood. The blood goes in a spiral by the walls. It's actually spiraling in the walls. And so when we do twists, all sorts of exercises, and direct with breathing and nourishing with oxygen our body, or reduce breath so it becomes activated and absorbed, so it's like it's a rhythm. It's the planet shows us that it has a rhythm. Every bird, every insect, every frog has a rhythm to it, and our heart is hugged by lungs, all the time, and it allows it to nourish it. It's massage, it's oxygenation, and we don't realize that we literally, like if we imagine that we have angel wings or wings, we don't breathe into our back. And when we do, we feel expansion, we'll feel lift, we feel elated, we have clarity. So the thinking disappears as soon as you start to breathe. So breathing is the form of meditation for those who find that they can't meditate. And you can do this everywhere. It's right under our nose. And as a space psychologist, my soul, well, I've actually before even went into space psychology, I felt like I wanted to have everything with me. I did not want to carry anything. I wanted for people to find tools that are within us, or to be free and able to access all the knowledge, all the expertise, all health, and all the techniques that you can take or have with you. You don't need to take it, it's available to us all the time. And breath is one that, if there are thousands of scientific papers on breath, but for some reason doesn't register, because it's actually not hard work. It's a little bit of work, but it's more about awareness. And suddenly it takes charge. It's because we never think about breathing, but allowing space for it enters and nourishes us and allows us to relax, to sleep better, to lower blood pressure, to remove stress, to handle emotional, cocktail of chemicals that happens. And there are some beautiful, very simple techniques that Dan talk about for children that I felt and kind of unconsciously used as well as a child. But until you hear it and own it through practice, it's somewhere out there and it's not yours. But it is available, and it's just about accepting this possibility that we can, through many, many means, help and heal ourselves and others in such a simple way. It just literally would be good to say it blew my thinking hat off, blew my mind, this logical mind, back into its place, because our mind is absolutely necessary thinking tool, but it is a tool. And it's beautiful to sit back into this place of awareness, where you're not overtaken by thought, but you can be present in this, bathed in this nourishment that exists. Every living plant, the whole ocean breathes for us. And with nothing in return, absolutely nothing in return. It's just gorgeous to look at nature and see, learn all these lessons that it has to patiently offer to us, without asking nothing back. Now I've talked for too long.
You're good. And you've been doing beautiful breath work, whether you knew it or not, your whole life. You've ebbed and flowed. I think everyone has. And if they would slow down and appreciate, I would argue that at least 10% of their breathing in every moment is incredible, if not like 90%. And what I'm about to ask, if you could, if you don't mind pretending that you've been doing this for 30 years, you're a breathwork instructor, could you take us through, pretend this is a retreat 5 years in the future, but you're practicing right now. Take us through
Yeah.
some sort of breathwork. I'll buy you time, because I'm going to put up a quote from Chogyam Trungpa, who passed away in the late 80s. Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, I can finally say it correctly. It's not Rinpoche. He has a beautiful quote from 2014 that involves breath, and it's pretty. And it's just, taking one breath is like taking one step. Both bring peace and harmony. And that's the opening openness through the heart. But now I've talked enough to buy you time. Iya, what would you say
Yes.
if you're suddenly the retreat leader? You're in the Seychelles. You have 50 people staring at you right now, and they're expecting something sage about breath. You take us through just a few steps of
Yes.
whatever this is.
It's beautiful. So there is one breath. It's I believe, if I'm pronouncing correctly, it's kumnai, and it's when you are learning or finding, and that's beautiful because it's a journey. It's journey that once you find it, you'll never lose it. And this is what I found Korean medicine to be. Just once you know it, it never disappears. And this breathing is to fine tune your how much air you let in through your nose and through your mouth at the same time. So the idea is that your mouth has a bigger opening and you can take a lot of air, right? It's like, when you yawn or inhale, it's a lot. It's big opening, but two nostrils, they're very fine. And in fact, we breathe always more through one than through the other, and it changes throughout the day. But there is some point when we breathe through both nostrils at the same time, and it's considered auspicious time. So there are practices that people learn to notice that they have the same, it is a shivering like sensation. When you are learning to sense the breath coming in through your nose, and it's somewhat cooling sensation, and you could feel that air touches at the back of your throat. When you open a little bit for your mouth, you can feel, and you're looking for this opening to match the amount of air coming in through your nose, and they connect somewhere together and they join in the spiraling down. And after looking for this kind of opening a little bit more, maybe spreading your teeth, maybe changing the shape of your tongue, so it has this flow inside, and you're looking for this kumnai, or for this equilibrium. And by breathing at the same time through your nose and mouth, letting the same amount of air, and it's just that balancing act that allows you to find that beauty of the instrument that you have, with you. And that alliance, sympathetic and parasympathetic system, and instantly, just even for a few minutes, if you just have an opportunity to do that before a meeting or before a talk, or just in the morning, or just when you're at the traffic light, or just when you are, just looking in the mirror in the morning, or if you are cooking something and you are able to focus on the breathing, that will change the space, your internal. And we know that we mirror what happens on the outside. And people begin to smile when they start breathing, when they're looking for it, and when they get it, the joy spreads throughout the body. And that is this relaxation. And we do have this energy body that ancient practices talk about all the time. And there's just no doubt, because medicine now connects the major glands with our chakras, and there's a lot of science on how meditation sets us in a particular rhythm and allows certain abilities to come through that we work hard to get, but actually we just need to relax and breathe, and find balance. So if you can
This.
do this for 5 minutes,
I
yeah.
love that. How about giving us 3 steps, 3 quick instructions so that the audience just, I love hearing you talk about this. It's incredible. Oh my gosh. But give us 3 steps so the audience member watching in 2030 or next year in Germany, in New Zealand, in Mexico can take those 3 steps right now and get some sort of a breath experience. So you're on the spot. What are the 3 steps you're telling us to take? And everyone gets like 30 seconds to just enjoy.
So do you mean to balance yourself, or to
To take a breath. Actually tell
Okay.
us what to do. So we actually take the time while they're watching the video. They
Okay.
take a whole 30 seconds to listen to you and take the steps at their end.
Okay. Well, it's always good to step back into yourself. So you almost feel like when we are at the center of whatever the situation, maybe just our thinking mind, maybe we don't have anyone in front of us. If we just take a step back, literally physically, we just, take a step back. And that's the feeling when we're stepping into our, I would say, divine self, energy self, our presence that is always quietly with us, but it's kind of waiting for us to be invited in. So if you step back and take those CompSci breath and just feel the breath in some way, maybe you can't do that CompSci right away, but just feel how the breath, that spirit is moving through you with the breath, that oxygen, those, every single tree is willing to give you, their nourishment, and just feel that gift that we're given to sustain our health, life, and almost start to observe as if you are the tree. Our lungs resemble branches of the tree, very much so. So just look at as if you're the tree onto the situation that you just step back from. Could be your thinking mind, could be your relatives, could be some pressure or concern or something that is on your mind, maybe in your heart even. And just watch it with as much care and as much non-attachment as the tree would give you that nourishment, but it would still allow for it to be. It lets you be the way you are. And breathe for a few minutes or moments, as much as you have time. And then with that presence, step in back into that situation, and everything will light up because you've already engaged your presence beyond the chemical cocktail that is ruling our body and ruling our thinking mind. Because as soon as we have a thought, we're not in the present. But if we are breathing, we are living. It's literally, we are in the moment of life as it happens. We're not, as soon as we're afraid or thinking or detecting even pain, we are already forecasting to the future. What am I going to do tomorrow about it? Or how I have managed and suffered with it before. But breath allows us to come to a different awareness, allow that to be in a different capacity. I guess it was more like 3 minutes, but
It was awesome. Which country have you been to that most aligns or instructed you on breath work, whether you knew it or not, and you feel like that's almost what the whole place is about?
oh, I guess smell is quite powerful for me. And I remember walking off the plane and you get hit with this air. I love Australia. The smell of eucalyptus is so powerful for me. And it's so different because they have this blue mountains somewhere. Is it near Sydney, I think? But you travel there into the mountains and it changes depending on the type of eucalyptus tree. It's beautiful. I remember I lived in United Arab Emirates for a while in Dubai, and we skydived in Dubai, and that has a very different quality of the air. It's hot, it's humid, but it's also very present. It feels very it's sort of like keeping you in one spot as if the energy is surrounding you, and that the heat from the sand and when you walk into the sea, you don't feel the difference in temperature because it's so hot. It's like milk, walking into the hot milk. But when you weave your hand through the water in the evening, you see the fluorescence, and it's just like being in this magical fairy tale. The being in the Red Sea with dolphins, and also seeing the fluorescence in the night all around you when you switch off all of your light, and you are in cosmos, and you because when you swim with wild dolphins, you usually do it like a free diver, so without a suit, but it's almost you feel suspended. It's like you don't need to breathe for a time. Obviously, you do. You need to come up for air, but it feels like you are something is suspended. You feel suspended in time and nourished with its quality of, in water, you feel connected to everything, and you do feel protection and it's that very visceral because it's touching your skin. It flows through your hair, and when the dolphins come by, they invite you. They invite you to dance. They invite you. They know how much breath you have, and they take you back up if you are low, and then invite you to go back down once you had a breath. It's gorgeous, and they pick you. They come to you, and the same dolphin might come several days. We would stay for a week, right on the. It's like a rise in the Red Sea. It's not in an island, but you travel to. It's like a lagoon, but it's underneath. So some places it's 16 meters, some are 9 meters, but outside that there's a proper Red Sea. It's gorgeous.
I love this. We just had a Roberta Goodman on who will be back on a few more times, I think 3 times total, but she's on the APL Spotlight series, 45 years with dolphins and whales. And she's had experiences that are not explainable back in her research days or just working with them in a captive setting versus wild dolphin swims in the Pacific or Atlantic or wherever. She described at one point being carried around in a circular tank where it was not the resistance of the water anymore. She couldn't explain what happened. The dolphin took over and took her in a way that was like a bubble around her. Yeah. And so I will put up a photo of of a beautiful dolphin for dolphin consciousness to come in. But as soon as you said eucalyptus, I'm like, rainbow eucalyptus is my favorite. It's actually the bark of the tree is rainbow.
Wow.
Right? But if you want, just to show the power of going non-linear, why don't you catch eucalyptus in the air right now? Ask the galaxy, cosmos, angels, Einstein, anybody who's an unconditional love figure around you, Mary, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha. Ask for some eucalyptus in the air and be surprised. No try Yoda. I'm going to do Yoda's voice and bust myself, as they say in America. Do, do not. There is no try. Hopefully that was funny enough to help people let go. Did you catch a little bit of eucalyptus, or do I need to light some sage at this early moment in the show? Did you get a little bit of
I
eucalyptus?
feel I feel the leaves, so I have a feeling, when you touch the eucalyptus leaf, I remember the sensation because I love touching them.
I got ficus because I have never touched eucalyptus, so I'm thinking ficus leaves, but I don't know any of that experience yet. And I'm going to light a little bit of
They
sage. We do this on every show. You can catch or feel the energy of this, but give yourself permission to just be in your heart. This is a 10-second exercise. Watch the other shows if you need to practice or anything like that. But through 2 screens, no big shakes. And allow, no triota. And one quick dad joke. What's the only flower found on the human face? Tulips. And Ia in the UK right now, although you're traveling all the time. Are you getting the energy? Are you smelling the sage? Are you catching flowers? You can get flowers from Australia, India, the Seychelles. What do
I
you
feel the I wouldn't say impact, but like a wave of feather, like when you feel the feather. So this is something used in sacred drumming. We use feather to cleanse the field, various types of feathers, and people. There was a beautiful um, a woman who supports women in birth, a doula, and one day she was I think with her children in a boat, like when you can rent a boat and you go to the parks, and a beautiful feather, swan feather, came to her just right to the boat. And so it's got such beautiful feel and energy. And when you get whiffed with that feather, it's just very beautiful and soothing energy when you feel it. So I felt that sensation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For dolphins, if you could take us one extra, if you can connect the concept of swimming with dolphins from your past experience, how dolphin consciousness itself is still awaiting our discovery and is our instruction like anything else in every moment. And so, with that, do you mind going big picture for mankind and how everything is sort of awaiting? Our awareness is still on the horizon for mankind. I know we think it's science. I know we think it's formulas or proof or concrete thinking this or thinking that excludes possibility. I get it. That's the currency today. But when mankind takes everything a little less seriously and gets going with listening more, oh my goodness. But here's your
Wow.
typical dolphin. You can feel it. You can hear clicking in English if you wish,
It's
but you'll get
gorgeous.
a nice bit of light or experience that will then translate into something you can talk about and take it to the next level. I'll hold it with two hands. So how is
They
this all interconnected for us?
It is very interconnected, and it's connected with rhythm, which is again coming back to breathing. And we know they breathe air as well. And so one of the things that I really want for people to connect and feel, I want to people to experience sound through shape. And that's what I'm working on at the moment. And the project is being kind of christened now as called Living Patterns. And for children, it will be called Earth Ears, just to have this fun, where the earth, so listening to the earth, but also all the creatures on Earth speak. Some of them we don't hear because we lose that capacity, but babies hear everything in the hearing range. And the concept, which I have already done the pilot for, is to, through water, which is dolphins, put the sound through, and the sound creates mandalas on water. And this is not new concept. It's been for centuries. The polymath has been wondering why these shapes repeat. If you put a sand on a plate and put on the metal sand on the metal plate, it will create shapes like turtle shell, our spines, lizards, flowers. It's just depending on the frequency that you will resonate the plate with. And when we put it into water, I wish for children and us as adults, I think we still can connect because then we do have plasticity in our neuroplasticity, but at least we will begin to feel the message. And the concept is to allow for children to start see how shapes physically form, and that becomes an alphabet for them. So first they will hear the sound and see the shape, but eventually they will see the mandalas and hear them. And all of these mandalas have rhythm and they have frequency, so they will have alignment. And of course, rhythm is exactly the same what breath does. The more frequently we breathe, we resonate at certain frequency. The more slower we breathe, we also are tuned to certain frequency. And all these creatures, they are creating the sound through their breath, like frogs, or you can see the birds on how the entire body expands and their beak, becomes this big and this tiny bird, and you can hear it for miles, and you can't even find it in the tree. And if you relax into that sound, you feel that sensation of that mandala coming through you. And one of the concepts which Carl Sagan, which is a NASA scientist, and he's been very instrumental in connecting us to higher awareness, that we are not alone, and greater consciousness. And I have an amazing story maybe that I will write one day about, but he said that um, we have taught dolphins human words that they recognize in context, and the number could be some 50 words. But he says, but I've never met a human who can speak Dolphinese. And why? Why? And the limitation is that we have concepts, which is our thinking mind, that we cannot break those conceptual barriers of why does it have to be speaking voice. And my perception of swimming with wild dolphins and also being exposed consciously through awareness, through sounds in various types of forests, across the land, that when the dolphins communicate, when that vibration goes through, or like when you get shivers, and get like a good feeling, or when you get a joy and you feel this sensation throughout the body, almost like some people could say, it's a beautiful rain, or it's a beautiful wind, or it's like whisper going across you. Again, it's with the breath, but in water, the sound travels at an incredible speed, much faster than through the air. And that mandala, which it is mandala when they create the shape, it travels and it resonates through all of their body. They're elongated, and it's like a sieve setting them into a particular state rather than communicating a word. So that sound mandala sets us at a feeling. So it's not about getting a telepathic communication. It's about the sensation of settling us into that nurturing arms of our mother or father or grandmother. It's that feeling of love and connection when grandparents, melt seeing their grandchild, and they just nourish that. And you remember that touch. Something that you did before we started on the show when you said, could you tell me the name of that Indian sage? That
Was it Krishnamurti?
Yes, Krishnamurti, and I feeling that touch of that, where it's acceptance of who you are, and you don't need to change, because we don't. We just have put up too many barriers to be for somebody, or to be thinking that we have to project a certain sense, where we're actually perfect for this puzzle in the universe. We don't need to change. We just need to remove the concept that we've been putting and forgot, how to breathe um, intuitively, breathe ourselves.
And just for the audience, we were playing around before the show, just letting go, and you can have different experiences with the universe. You can get any answer to any question. You can feel a touch on your shoulder. You can just get a lot of love. You can feel it. You can close your eyes and see it. There's so many different ways, and it's whatever a person's comfortable about. I wanted to mention an October 25th guest this year on the APL show, Vita Austin down in New Zealand, who's not only had a couple near-death experiences, one of which she really got into, where she was lost in the water, dead in the water, gone for 3 hours. The Coast Guard, when they found her on the rock, she had passed over, but they had no explanation. And she shares those details there. But she shares her research, consciousness in water, like the Japanese researcher that has since passed over. And it very much resonates with what you were talking about. And I just wanted to mention Alan Watts and his metaphor allegory of the menu when you're at a restaurant. And it's different. When you're looking at the menu, you're discussing which food you might want to get. You might even get your glands, I'm starting to salivate over steak or something like that. But we're very preoccupied with mankind and science and everything else, all the experts at the menu level, and not the actual food, which would be actually listening to dolphins or listening to our galactic friends that are unconditional love and so on. And you've got an incredible background with your work with cosmonauts or astronauts and different centers or institutes or universities or podcast hosts or just other fellow researchers around the globe. And so you also have a tremendous amount of holistic experience. You've been studying and experiencing and teaching all this time. And so with that, it's fascinating to hear you put it all together. Can you talk to us just a little bit more? I'll give you a couple quotes from Winnie the Pooh, and let's see where you want to take these for, again, our opportunity for growth for mankind. And I would argue it's like the college kid or the gentleman or the young lady who's just out of university but hasn't gotten the first job yet. They might be living in the extra spare bedroom of their parents' place or the basement, and they have unlimited room for career growth and job opportunity at that point. The same as mankind right now. Here are a couple of Winnie the Pooh quotes. Some people talk to animals. Not many listen, though. That's the problem. And I would argue that's the opportunity for us all. Weeds are flowers too, once you get to know them. And then Piglet once asked Winnie the Pooh, how do you spell love? And Winnie the Pooh said, you don't spell it, you feel it, like the menu. Okay, so with that, you've been given 3 Winnie the Pooh quotes, and this is not some test or something where you have to do a stand-up in front of and you're being graded, but I do believe you've been teed up to talk about mankind. What are you witnessing? Are you witnessing more openness among scientists? Are you picking up on something that's beyond tangible sensing and proving, that's still real, that's flowing for us all more? Or how do you want to tackle this eternal question?
I feel there's more people coming, and I hear literally you read and you talk to people. A lot of my colleagues that I have met in the past come back, and we talk about, if you wish, with fresh eye friends that may not been even in my academic work, and they are longing to ask questions and we explore together, because I don't think the idea is that we are all one space or one organism or one being, and we are reaching for it together. And the more of us are reaching or waking up or becoming aware, maybe we are awake, but we are not as present kind of with our gifts that we have, because all of us, you can't make anything with one ingredient. Look at our body, look at the tree, we're still uncovering all the elements, in things around us, and we can't put it back together. We can take it apart, but there is something that holding it together in this novel way and allows it to reproduce, enhance, diverge. And we are touched through you. I think you can explore, the divine, the spirit, through science, through engineering, through, cleaning, anything, any type of work that you do at home with friends, whether it's your profession or temporary opportunity, because maybe we're there to meet somebody and not necessarily to advance anything, but touch somebody with attention. Because we often hear the stories, of somebody looked or smiled at the right time, and that stayed with people and made that impact when they were really down. And I had quite few stories like that where I just felt that people were saying things at the right time. And I certainly, when I have this opportunity, I do that too. And many stories come to mind. But I think we're all waking, and it doesn't matter what we do. So we could be asking through science, and we might be, having our own truth that we want to defend, and that's fine, because as long as we keep asking questions, we are journeying. So there is no right or wrong answer. I feel when we arrived at it, there is no need to convince anybody. So you come at peace with that recognition, and you almost want to be as silent as you can so you can hear it more or feel more or sense more. And you want to be quiet. And unless somebody, willing to ask a question, it's almost like you want to keep it and be in that. And just by solely being in that, you could say positive, but it's sort of in presence without condemning anyone or anything, but just allowing for things to happen. And that allows us to connect better to each other, because then the person doesn't need to be in front of us, anyone, because they just want to be together in the form that they are now. They don't need to be or change in any way. So we are all contributing to the space ourselves slowly, but I feel that people, touched in different ways.
It's a very broad, compassionate perspective that everyone is good where they are right now. I would add something Angel said, I think in 2014, and this is a bit of a rub, because really, what is anyone allowing for daily? Are we really allowing for more love, or is it easier to do a bit of thinking, judging, reacting, resisting fear, stress, worry, and all the rest of that from here up? But you can be happy now in this very moment without a single reason really becomes a bit of a problematic statement. If you're thinking, if you're in your heart, you're already smiling, breathing, and one with all, which I think is what we're doing half of every day. I'm going to do two more quotes for you. And if I can get your reaction to these, Archangel, or just angels, I've been doing this 13 years, helping people hear, feel, and see angels, galactic beings, philosophers, figures from India, your relatives, pets. It's all direct. and people can do it jointly. And I've got photos of angels. And so hopefully I'm off the hook. But angels started mentioning their galactic origin stories. Not all of them. Some are domestic, we'll call it planet Earth. Others are off world, but they're angels today. Unconditional love, not here to interfere, just lots of love. And an angel named Archangel Uriel said, if more people would listen, less conflict would arise in any given situation. And I'm going to do one more from angels. There is no right or wrong. There's proper understanding. And I'm going to bring in Ananda Mayama from India, who's a real hugger and a sweetie. And you can feel her. You can even catch an Indian incense smell. You can catch some sort of vibe. Iya, catch what you'll allow for. I'm purposely not making eye contact with you right now, but breathe, allow, let go for the audience. What will you allow for is the rub, whether you never tuned into this channel. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. We're going to grow a lot soon. We have amazing guests like Iya here who are so considerate for coming on and sharing their essence and their love for humanity and for all of us and for all the creatures big and small here. Here's Ananda Mayama. And what are you getting right now for all of us, again, on the big picture for mankind and how we all have a big, shiny heart?
Just being present and comfortable with ourselves. I think it's most difficult, for us to allow just be. And reaching that, I think a lot of us, certainly, these are my experiences, and I hear from friends, colleagues, people who come to practice with me, that not feeling the grounding foundation and support. It's just for some reason people have lost that hug of the universe, one way to say it, or through breath, you can experience that, your body always hugging all your organs, your lungs are hugging your heart. Every cell has contact with another cell, everybody is tucked in together. And we are surrounded by air molecules. Everything is just, if we relax into this presence and allowing ourselves to melt into who we are, and just without judging ourselves all the time. It's so exhausting, to filter all these thoughts and all these pressures and recognitions that are, we just become aware of them differently. They don't go away. It doesn't become easier, but it become more joyful and more connected and more supported. And you still go through the same and maybe even more difficult challenges, but it's like, you've got it because the universe is on our side, and it feels, so it's like in that photograph, it feels like it's okay to be you. There's no judgment, just be. I'm showing how to be, in a way, and how to just be with yourself in that photograph.
Are we the only casino on the Vegas Strip, if the Vegas Strip is the universe and the casino is mankind? Is it a really big universe? Are we solo here? Are we operating in a vacuum? Or how would you put it? Because you do get invited to UAP, UFO conferences. Have you had an experience? How do you know? And what can you share with us that's fun? And I'm going to show one photo from a concert in Austin, Texas. It was not raining that night.
Oh, wow.
And I did ask one question, not who killed JFK back in the 60s, but if everyone had a camera, could they have, it was a really high vibe group. I can't remember if it was Two Door Cinema Club playing at the most beautiful concert venue in Austin, Stubbs Barbecue, if anybody's interested, great barbecue sauce. But besides dinner and evening lunch, they have an amphitheater on a slope that's small, but not too small and amazing. Or it was M83, the French alternative band. I can't remember. One of the two was brilliant and the vibe was there. And I don't care if you're playing ball with your dog. Take a couple photos before you play ball with your dog at evening, sunset, and you might just get a couple of balls of light. And after you're playing ball with your dog for a while and you're laughing and your dog's laughing and you're having fun and you're one, You might get snowflakes everywhere. It'll look like a blizzard of color. And so I would just, whatever that means, you're not alone, is my opinion. But what can you share with us? You must know something if you've done all this work, you've had all this experience. What can you share with us that's sparkly and fun and a reminder that we're not alone necessarily?
I think it's opening up to what we feel, and it's about inquiry, and it's about gentle awareness rather than I want proof. Be because if you wish, I went through childhood where I could feel and sense and know things slowly kind of whittled away and disappeared. And, not understanding why we need to learn by rote or by remembering, through hard repetition. When in fact, when you're just listening and if you wish, melting into what your physics teacher is telling you, and it becomes clear because when the person loves their subject, it just flows. And it's easy then to just join in, the joy and fun. And it becomes an inner knowing rather than learning by rota. And so these were my experiences. And then when I met Korean professor of Korean medicine, and I sat at the very back because I was very young. I was either late teens or just early, just turned 20. And there were all these medical doctors in the audience. It was in Latvia. He traveled. And I always wanted to study, Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine, or be a monk, learn all the martial art I could, samurai, go to Japan, go to China, go to Tibet, find all this secret, sacred teachings. And so I sat there, almost actually holding my breath because it was so extraordinary that someone came from the East, and I'm here and I'm going to learn, acupuncture, miniature acupuncture. And he went on to teach us smile therapy and this twist, breath work and movement. And I'm sitting there, paused to take notes, as meticulously as I can. And just as he started, probably again with breath, I held my breath, and then suddenly I felt like I'm inhaling and I am flowing with him. I was within his presence, and tears rolled. I wasn't crying, but I was so happy. I felt like I know the next thing he's going to say. I felt like he just handed me the key. And the entire lecture, I was right with him. If I wasn't, probably not ahead, but I didn't need to write anything down. Absolutely nothing. It was all so obvious, It's like, how come we are not taught this as children or in school? Why isn't science and which is actually can be taught the same way? So that's what I went on to do in my work in my PhD, is to see how I can structure information for pilots to follow that natural curiosity, intuition, and process. And then when I had my children, I thought I ought to design, for them where they're coming in, because when they come in, our face is actually the key to all the patterns here on Earth. So we hold the Fibonacci sequence, the golden section, all the fractals, our body is full of it. And we just need to show them more of that. And when you show to babies these patterns that are rhythms that are formed through sound, and sound is produced with breath, when we talk, we breathe and we form this mandalas as we talk to each other. And allowing for that to just be in the presence and allowing for that beauty to unravel. And I felt like he shared this secret that's not really a secret, that he just said, look, it's all open. This is how I came to it. So you can come to it. And ever since I've been hooked. I've attended all of his qualifications, all of his lessons. And during COVID, I re-listened because you had the time and opportunity. It all went online, so I didn't need to travel anymore. So I've upgraded, renewed, requalified, and I could never listen enough, for that, because it's almost feel like it's a flow of fractals, patterns, rhythms that have become obvious, and you just know. And if I teach anyone, I teach mothers on the course a little bit on kind of first help, just so that they get touched by it. And if they want to go on, there are many teachers I recommend personally because my work is slightly different. But I feel compelled to share, which is what I feel is space medicine is, because you can't take medication, into space. And we're not meant to. We're meant to live anywhere on Earth in most remote places, and everything is available to us. Food is provided without pay. You just need to provide a little bit of enjoyment, physical activity, strain a little bit, breathe a little bit, and it will all grow for you. And the medicine is right here. Every plant, every, salt water has got a lot of healing properties. Running water has a lot of properties. So, and our thought and presence with each other that's what sets the room. When you walk into the room, you either want to be there or not. Or when you meet a person, meet their gaze, you just want to sit with them. You don't even want to speak. And I think that's what we should be offering to each other, multiplying that, allowing people to be themselves.
I'm going to give a bunch of definitions for healing or a healer. And can you let us know which one resonates and why?
Okay.
And then can you switch perspectives a little on everything you've been doing for everyone, which is a really big, wide, diverse audience, from scientists to pilots to cosmonauts, astronauts, to when you were a BBC presenter, that type of audience, to all sorts of other communities. And then can you find a way to describe how you're a healer one way or the other? Here are some healing definitions. A healer is simply someone who helps a person confront opposing forces within him or herself to promote health. A true healer kindles the power already within another. A healer is someone who is able to raise their frequency to connect to the source, light, while keeping themselves clear and fully connected. They use this elevated frequency to help others directly or indirectly. And one or two more. When you're a healing presence, you're an artist. I think you were just describing being present and not talking. And one of the most powerful things a healer can do for another as a healing presence is simply believe. Which one of those resonated the most? And would you give yourself even slightly the definition of a healer or the role of a healer, or just, is it where you're headed?
Since I was very small and I heard the stories about teachers that that blend with the crowd and you never see them, and that they all only come to you when you're ready. Um, and then when I think it's about mirroring in a way and allowing people to resonate slowly, to come to their own self if they're not already there. But it's almost like it's a conversation of presence. Because as soon as we're able to relax all this micro contractions that happened when we were scared, or when we were fearful, or when we just don't allowing to be ourselves, or not allowing ourselves to laugh or to yawn. We're not allowed to yawn in public properly, which is actually opening all of our vessels, and it oxygenates our body instantaneously. If you just yawn, 4 times completely openly. Oh, yes, It's just what do you properly. It's just allows, stretches everything in you and relaxes everybody around you. Like when you see the cat, yawn and really stretch, or a dog. Yeah. And you can see how much release they get from that and pleasure. And in a way, by just allowing people to not fix them, because when you come to somebody and somebody's looking at you like to a doctor and they're looking for that brokenness in you, you kind of thinking, oh, they're going to find it, it's going to be bad, and and um, and also you're looking for a pill, but actually, if you come and those tensions begin to release, then the energy can start to flow. And that's what we do through breath, through twist therapies, through relaxation, through contemplation, regression, family constellation, all these practices, sound therapy. Our voice has an amazing, like honey-like quality that melts things through our body. And we're not taught that. And this is what it's right, it's within us, all of this is within us. And so I feel that it's that presence where you can allow others and yourself, foremost, to remove all this extra vehicle activity suit, this EVA suit that cosmonauts and astronauts wear, that we were taught to wear a formal suit, but just unpick, or maybe remain in it for as long as you need to. Maybe you need to be there for a bit because it's just too harsh and it's just not ready to be unpicked. That's okay too. And it's letting that play be. It's just like, okay, you're like this today, and that's fine. And I'm not expecting you to be anywhere different tomorrow, but I'll meet you with as much openness as I can tomorrow, and you come in whatever form you're ready. and it's meeting each other in that moment without expectation, every time. And I think that's most challenging. It's the greatest lesson, and it opens a lot of compression that we have. And in psychology, we almost there are now many, many techniques, right? It's not about just kind of jumping into trauma, but the most healing way is allowing it to rise when it needs to rise rather than heading for it. Because there might be other things that are closer and more gently on the surface. And some of them never need to be touched. They just need to be let them be, because it just happened. And we just need to allow it because it made us who we are. And some of them are really traumatic, but there is this quality of allowing, just like the breath comes in, we don't judge it. We don't judge on how weak or strong or shallow or deep it is. And it's about that, because it will change in the next minute as soon as we put intention into it. So I think that's the most healing quality that we can be for each other. So I think there isn't a healer without a person next to them. It's a dance, and you're both allowing each other be, and you're both, rising maybe, but you could be going deeper. It's not about, that positive or negative. It's about arriving at a place where you can recognize yourself more and more without external suits that are put on us.
You reminded me of Karl Hammerschlag, doctor out of Yale, who went to the Bureau of Indian Affairs in America. Jewish background, didn't like Germany. Beautiful books by him. He's since passed over maybe 5 years ago now. And he thought he knew everything about healing because he's a doctor, a very good one. But a medicine man took him under his wing. And later, as the world opened up to him and actual healing and stuff like that, he became a psychologist, so he sort of doubled. And he has a beautiful book called Dancing Healers that every chapter you're either crying or laughing. It's a very healing process. The second book by him is The Theft of Spirit, and both are beautifully written. He is a very distinct personality. He hung out when he was alive with Patch Adams. And so they loved humor and
Yes.
dressing up with clown noses and stuff like that. They felt that that was very important. Everything he learned, he turned around and tried to teach entire communities that they could pass it along. So I'm going to give you 3 quotes. And just if you could give us a mantra back, I'm buying you time with the 3 quotes. A mantra that may or may not fit on the front of a t-shirt, front and back of a t-shirt, but something that's advice for daily living. Gary Zukav, Seed of the Soul. You change the way that you shape the light which is flowing through you by changing your consciousness. Einstein, we shall require a substantially new manner of thinking if mankind is to survive. And here's one more anonymous. We'll just keep it anonymous. What you see in others and the world is the energy you create for yourself. Now, that may or may not influence what your mantra is, or reminder for us all, but what is your, we're not quite wrapping it up yet. We're getting closer. You're going to do a couple angels next, and maybe a universal flow of light. What's that reminder for us all?
I guess I'm coming into this awareness of breath more and more. And I feel if you notice how you breathe, and that tells you how constrained or relaxed you are, and allowing this to be as healing and actually as pleasurable as it can be. So finding that joy in breath rather than having weight. And maybe you need to change your position, maybe you need to stretch, but the breath, it's almost like a calling card on where we are right now. And the more we come into awareness of how we feel, and it's hard to tell, when people, how do you feel today? We almost have a prepared answer, but how you breathe today, it's something novel in terms of thinking about it. And then by changing a little bit of the breath, by becoming, see how I can change it to be nourishing and cuddly and most pleasant as it can be, then that, I think that note to self, allows us to just come into recognition and let go of thinking, let go, because as soon as we're in our thoughts, we're in the past or present or future, and we're not living. Life only happens, this right now. And actually all the creative ideas come when we let go of this thinking process, and something just comes in when maybe we need to go for a walk. Maybe we need to stretch on the ground, maybe hug a loved one, stroke a cat, play with a dog, or call the loved one, or just breathe for a moment and notice how your other loved ones are breathing, and just align with that. And you will feel how they feel. So that's not a mantra, but just connect with your breath, and it will tell you where you are right now. And you can then change where you are to the next moment just by changing that to make it more pleasant.
All the fun moments happen when you're here. If you have ever noticed, or maybe it's a life review, you're actually not going to pass over, but you're coming close and you get shown everything. All the really cool moments happen when you're here. And if you just would realize that, you might spend 7% more time in your heart daily. That's it. According to an angel named Charlotte, 7% less thinking a day or 7% more being in your heart is the Olympic gold medal. Nothing to gain, nothing to lose. Don't try. I'll do one last following what you said about when you get asked how you're doing. Most of the time, it's a prepared statement, like you said, like a White House press secretary, doesn't matter which political party. You get a sort of a minted statement. But the opposite would be maybe the Hawaiian culture when they put their heads together and they share a breath. I believe that's the correct culture. They actually are sharing breath, and there's so much to what you're saying. I'm going to put up an angel. You mentioned Joy. I'm going to put up an angel named Joy, who's the very first angel people meet, see, feel, hear, get any answers. Allow for what you can allow for. Get what you will out of this, whether it's a flower smell, an incense smell from India, laughter, bells going off in a very gentle manner. She might have a reminder for us all. You might see pink sparkles all around you. Won't have to vacuum later. And what are you feeling, hearing, sensing? And she,
A rising feeling.
yay. Um, and do you have a reminder that's getting sparked for all of us as I pull away with her? What does she have as a reminder for all of us?
Well, can you feel joy through your breathing?
And one more figure, angel, light waves of energy and water, a soft-spoken professor like our present company. And here she is. Her name is Min is good enough. Like Minnesota, the Lakota Sioux word for water. And just catch what you can catch. Anybody wants to catch Hawaii in the air. My microphone's up top. This photo may move. I'll try to hold it with two hands. I'm going to blow 2 times. See if you can catch Hawaii come in. Anybody wants to go crazy, catch it on the tip of your nose. And 2 more times for good measure. And 1 more time. And catch it all over your body like a solar flare of love, but let an angel do their job. One only has to get out of their head, out of their own way, into their heart, and literally not do anything. Receive all with a capital A.
I
Get
feel
a little spark.
I felt the sensation, when you're sitting under in the summer and it's just that cool breeze and you get the leaves shimmering with sound, that kind of, and it does have that sparkling sound to it. So
Aw.
it's that birch tree is the one I'm thinking. So, and that's quite, have you ever been in the birch place where they're all birches? There's nothing else.
I have not,
It's
but I love photography. I love painting of birch trees. Birch trees
yeah,
without having personal experience are one of my favorite.
yeah, yeah, it's gorgeous. And the sound is very different because a lot of birch trees have like dangling, relaxed branches. And when they touch each other, that sensation of leaves playing or caressing, like dolphins, they play and touch each other all the time. So it's that feeling, and you feel that almost everywhere because you feel the wind as well, but you also hear the sound. It's quite nice.
I'm going to give you a very unique opportunity. You don't have to say anything out loud, but you have a background that is very appreciative. And if I say a bunch of words right now, let us know which 2 or 3 ring out. Positivity, love, kindness, attention, compassion, appreciation, gratitude, opening openness, allowing all, accepting, attitude, and abundance. Are there any of those words that really jumped out at you?
Um, Appreciation and abundance.
Have you been given either through past life regression, through some sort of other modality, or some expert or some amazing healer, have you been given insights into, it could be past lives, it could be galactic, it could be this, it could be that. You don't have to give the details. Have you just been given a little bit of an insight into your makeup and what you're coming in with into this lifetime that allows you to be so appreciative and attentive?
Well, I feel, and I think both, they finally merged together, that our children come in as as reminders for us to wake up. It could be even, children that are not our own. They touch us much earlier on before we have our own. But it's that, and some adults remain children, and you feel that spark, and they and they stay younger, and we want to be around people that are still in touch with that no expectation, and that that you can find joy in everything you do. And and I feel these are the reminders, and that's how I felt that when my children came in. You can't ever explain anyone what it is to be a parent, but that it just jolts you. And I think that's the point, is to allow us to not to become too stagnated, because we do. So it's either through people who touch us, like these, healing young spirits that remain young forever, or those children that, touch grandparents and parents and their siblings as well. So they kind of rehashed all of my past history, um, and I know a lot of mothers who change completely their worldview, and fathers as well. And I have some grandmothers on my course as well, who come in with their newborn grandkids. So, and it's beautiful to see them light up or like unravel like most beautiful flowers that they've forgotten they are. So,
I have one parting gift for the show today, and that's just you're not going to share anything out loud. Just see what you receive. It's private to you. I'll put up an angel named Charlotte, and then we'll do a closing out of the show. But just hear something about your background, your makeup, anything. It's private to you, and you only have to say, got it. But it also just might be a pleasant memory. Here she is. But it also might be the cosmos or a glimpse of the stars. Who knows? This is private to you, but anybody at home wants to just put their hand out and feel what they can feel. Don't judge. Breathe more, the way Ia was reminding us. Maybe the millimeter open in the mouth. Put a hand on your heart, two hands on your heart if you need extra help. And just ask the universe to make it nice.
oh, yes.
Good. And if there is anything you want to share, you'll let us know. I'll do two closing statements and then you'll get whooshed light. Not sure how that ever works out, but it's a whoosh of we're going to blame the universe, cosmos, angels. We have to blame somebody. We're human. Don't blame Canada. But here are just two final statements from this end. Positivity is abundance. But if you can't quite make it to positivity, just settle for being open in your heart. Feel what you can feel. Don't judge. Last little bit is when you get to being ready for this, learn to take life really one moment at a time. What could be more fun than that? What's your reminder for us all before you get whooshed with the light and we say goodbyes here?
Take a pause, take a breath. That's all that's required. Really, nothing else that we need to do. Everything unravels from there. We rush too much.
Take a
Yeah.
pause. I'm thinking of my dogs right away, and I'm like, oh my God, the second you really spend time with dogs, not I'm gonna spend time an hour from now and I might walk them. And a week later, you're still like, I'm gonna spend time with them an hour from now and I might walk them. You never walked them in the whole week that went by because you're doing
No.
this. So take those paws and rub
Yeah.
them. They love getting their paws rubbed or even their wrist.
That is
And with
quite
that,
cute.
I'm going to whoosh you with a little bit of light. And if you don't mind, you're in the UK, I'm in Texas. If you could give us an adjective for when you do put your hand up and feel, what are you feeling for just hopefully love and above? Let me get to my heart and remember bodyboarding is a great exercise in the surf. What do you feel there? Are you using all of you as a feeling?
Yes, I feel like when you're traveling through space and you get this stars sensation, that kind of feeling. This not as much moving air, but it's just sensation of motion.
And you're going to get one whoosh. I'm just going to go upwards a little bit more. Feel what you can feel front, back, up here, wherever. And if it could be sparkly, I'll blow, and maybe it'll be a little bit of Hawaii, but I never know. And it's not moi, it's the universe, angels, whatever is just beyond our thinking. And so this isn't about more thinking, it's about less thinking. It's beyond the grasp of thinking. Here it comes, and then we do our parting. And Ia, do you get anything?
Um, I just calmness, I think, some kind of pause, I think, but kind of in a good resting space. You know, when you can just let go. It's like when you want to kind of you inhale and you come to understanding, and people all like when you talk to people or practice with somebody, and suddenly, they were listening, and they would be like, this, they kind of, they almost like settle. And that's when these tensions are released. And though they may not consciously know what happened or what thought came, but you know that they will walk out with less weight. So that's how it felt.
There's a running joke in our household with the dogs that I love giving them hugs. I mean, I'm doing it all the time. We have one really, I mean, all dogs are cute, but we have one that just loves hugs. And so you rub, 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 and eventually there's this huge sigh that escapes. It's patented, and there's a loud, you hear, and then you know the job is done. And the other dog does the same thing. But it's a bedtime ritual for them, and I'm the culprit for doing the rubbing and petting and everything else. But there's an actual energy exchange going on, and so that's what I'm immediately reminded of when you say this. Here we are at the end, but not necessarily. We'll have you back as much as you wish, and we'll see what transpires over time. And whenever it is you wish to come share with us again, it is fantastic having you here. You're a total delight. You have total presence. You have an amazing ability to communicate in the calmest, smoothest way. I love it. It's a delight. Um, yeah, thank you for being on the APL Spotlight series. You're just a charm. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for creating this opportunity. And I feel like it is people, as I'm listening to when you speak, it's also, opportunity to almost like let go and open different doors, or when you open a window, like a fresh breeze comes in and you can just immerse, and allowing that space. I mean, it's literally a window, right?
Mhm.
That you can just take off and be in Hawaii, wherever you're wished into, right?
I'm a little bit of enthusiasm if no one's figured it out by now, and take me with a grain of salt, but everyone has the same ability to let go and walk a smoother path. And I hope today's episode has helped people at least do that sigh and have a little more
Yes.
space, room for maneuver, daily maneuvering.
Yeah. When we exhale, actually, the fresh, there's a natural inhale that breathes us.
Mm.
So it's when you're able to exhale fully, our body takes the breath in.
And I forgot two photos for you, not angels, it's the universe. These are art
Mm.
photos. I took photos of light passing through an object. I don't want to say what it is just yet. It was the same object, two different moments of light. And you could call this universal love consciousness. I'll put these up. Very beautiful, very rainbow lighty. If you could tune in, and either might be a color, the whole thing, feel what you can feel. And then unfortunately, I'm going to ask you, because we're on a show that is all about words, and that's almost the opposite of what we should be doing. But Ia, what are the words that you're going to have to employ for any reaction? Are you getting a little vibe, a whoosh up your back, up the front, anywhere?
Well, as when you put it up, I just saw a lot of eyes in there. I don't know if other people see that.
Oh, I see it. I see an owl now in the middle.
Yes, and there are quite a few actually. And I mean, I is to do also with unity. My name is in Cyrillic is and I. So it's not me, it's and me, and there are many and me. So there is I've met someone who shares my name from a native nation in Canada, in Vancouver Island. And her name was Iya as well. And I asked her, what does it mean? And she said, many of us. I said, like, and I
That we have to
said,
get into another day. I love that. I have an opposite, which I've never said on the show before. I'm almost 2 years into the show. There's a Michael W. Ford who is completely, if I'm angels and unconditional love in the universe, I'm not kidding when I say the opposite. I wish him well and I hope he has lots of fun. But he's all about, he'll have to use his own words. But I'm Michael A. Ford and there's a Michael W. Ford. And I promise you, complete opposite. And I was told by angels that that's just the way it is. There's an opposing setup. I have another photo for you that's color primary. And this is a hummingbird feeder that's made out of glass, blown glass, that I shot up close. And I hate to admit it, but I was using an iPhone for this. Here's the more primary color one.
Mm.
And what are you picking up here? But if you don't mind putting a hand up, even off camera, so your palm is facing the photo, allow another receptor. And anybody at home who needs help, breathe through the mouth, let go, ask the universe to help you out of your head into your heart. What will you allow for daily? Good luck with it. But once a month, just open up and say, why not? I'll go get pizza tonight.
I do feel that, gentleness, if you've ever, had the opportunity when the bird with its tiniest, tiniest paws sits on your finger. We used to have little parrots, like when we were kids. And they are ever so gentle, although they've got claws. But when they sit, it's just a beautiful sensation, that lightness, and you can stroke their feathers just a little bit. They're just, and it's marvelous. I know a lot of kids who want to handle chickens, like big chickens, and they hold them and hug them, and it's quite unusual, as a pet. But there's just something cloud-like feather, like very lightness, and they also like to be hugged. I mean, probably not all chickens, but those that grow up to be handled, and they're just, this is when you come in with this fragility, but also that how life is percolating, even this the tiniest bubble of this feathers. So I felt that gentleness and presence, and they work so hard, the hummingbirds. They travel entire length of the continent. Could you imagine those tiny wings? And they have to eat so much.
I have a lot of hummingbirds here. I have 2 feeders out. It's just ended in October. And so every day I'm replacing the feeders. And I've been actually, this summer was crazy. I had a raccoon, a possum, and I think something else getting to my feeders. And then the bees were the best ever because they decided they had to participate. So it was such a orchestra of experiences. So I learned to only put this much instead of this much water and sugar in, and really feeding the possum and the raccoon nightly practically. I was putting just a little bit in and getting a break for a week at a pop. But hummingbirds are some of my absolute favorite. I can't get enough of them. Iya, thank you so much for being on the
Thank you.
show. We'll get you back as soon as you're ready. You're in a panel coming up for those tuning in and getting to the very end here. Again, subscribe, like, share, comment. You're on a panel coming up that's just going to be wonderful. I'm so excited. So people will get another dose of you very shortly. Thank you again.
Thank you for creating this space, Michael. And pursuing this is a wonderful, wonderful space for people to just let go. Thank
Well
you.
said. We need to get you into a commercial for the show. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.
Yes, thank you.